Welcome back to knitting lessons. So we've got our body of our jumper. Mine's got some fluff on it. And it's so nice and soft. I'm really pleased with this fabric. So I've done my 30 centimetres, but I've measured it from just here right down to the hem. I've got to my stitch marker, which shows me that I've done a full round. And so our instructions are, when the piece measures, and then whatever your measurement is, so for me it's 30 centimetres, but for you it might be a different length. On the next round, work to the last, for me, 2 stitches before the second marker, and then bind off the next, for me, 4 stitches for an armhole and remove the marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly work around to 2 stitches before the second marker. So for me, that's my pink marker that I put in. Okay. Okay, so let me double check my instructions again. Work to the last 2 stitches before the second marker and then bind off the next 4 stitches for an armhole and remove the marker. So bind off is another term for cast off. So if you watch my other cast off videos, or I can just show you again now briefly, we knit a stitch and we knit a stitch, and that's bound off 1. Remove our marker, and then put that stitch over 2, knit 1, put the last stitch over 3, knit 1, put the last stitch over 4. And so that's the beginning of our armhole there. Ooh. So there are 4 stitches bound off, and remove the marker. And then bind off as follows. So knits 2 stitches onto the right hand needle. Oh no, that's how it tells you how to bind off. You can always read ahead. That does help sometimes. So this is just telling you what binding off means, which I've just told you. So then on the same round, work to the last 2 stitches before the first marker. So with me, that's the greeny one, and bind off 2 stitches for the other armhole, remove marker and bind off first 2 stitches. So basically we're doing the same on the other side, so it's symmetrical. So I'll knit round to my other side. So here we are, the last 2 stitches before my first marker. So work to the last 2 stitches before the first marker, beginning of round, and remember this might be a different number for you, and bind off the last stitch before the armhole, remove marker, and then bind off the last 2 stitches on the next round. So basically doing the same thing. So binding off these 2, and then we're binding off the next 2. So we knit 1, knit 2, bind off the first one, remove the marker, bind off 2, bind off 3. It's very splitty wool this with my pointy needles. And then cast off 4. Done. 2 armholes. and bind off the first each on the front and back. So there should be now, for me, 43 stitches between each armhole. So I'm going to go away and count them, and then we're going to break the yarn. So we're just going to cut it. Oops, keep knocking my camera. Cut it with a little bit of spare room, and leave these stitches on hold. So I'm going to leave them just on here. So if you've got interchangeable needles, you might have a little stopper you can put on here and when you unscrew this one, or if you don't, you just pull your needles through, you should be fine, and keep it in a safe place, and we'll come back to that later. Because next, what we're doing is we are knitting some sleeves. So for our next video, what you'll need to go and get is your yarn, but you'll also need your 8mm double pointed needle set and your 10mm double pointed needles set. So go and gather all those things, and I will see you for our next video to make some sleeves. Go away and count your stitches, make sure you got the right number. If not, have a little look, maybe have a check back, see if you've bound off enough stitches at each armhole. Let me know if you've got any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.